Kia ora, welcome. I'm Mandy, and it is so great to have you joining us for this vision class. So what this first video is going to be is just an introduction to myself, to Eric, to Dark Times Academy, and we'll talk a little bit about the vision for this class, and what we hope that you're going to get out of it, and some ideas that we have. Future videos for this class are going to be interviews with our guests. But this one is just me and Eric, and it's mainly an introductory interview. So I think I will actually go ahead and start off by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Mandy. I was a librarian for a really, really long time, to be honest. I think I got my first library job in 1998. But the area of librarianship that I worked in was really closely tied to policy, and copyright policy in particular. So I very early on, as part of my career, was dealing with copyright and technology policy. And when my family moved to New Zealand in 2015, I took over running, at the time, what was the Creative Commons chapter for New Zealand. We converted that into an organization called Toa Toha that focused on really a fairly wide range of technology policy issues, including um, artificial intelligence and the impact that that was having. This was in 2018, so pre-LLMs. But also looking at things like the ways that the government was using artificial intelligence, the way that companies were using it in order to exclude people from things like access to benefits and so forth. And we also were working on what we called at that time online propaganda, which is now more widely known as disinformation. And I loved it, and it was a great job. But as part of that, I was able to create a course called A Bit Sus that was aimed at school librarians and others who work closely teaching information literacy. So that counter disinformation project was very successful, and it was awesome. And it allowed us to sort of hone a particular model for delivering online classes that combines the sort of pre-recorded interview and bibliography with an in-person meeting. And I had a lot of fun doing it. So when our funding ran out at Toa Toha and this new government took over here in New Zealand, I wanted to keep teaching, and I wanted to keep doing the work that I had been doing. So thank you for being here. Um, Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself, and then I can talk a little bit more about Dark Times Academy?
Sure. Kia ora, my name's Eric. I This is going to be my second course with Dark Times Academy. Oh my God, what am I? Big question. I am an ex-academic who also an ex-cafe owner, but that's less relevant here. I'm currently a faceless government bureaucrat in education. I randomly stumbled onto Dark Times middle of last year, something like that, and just sent out a message and said, hey, I've got some ideas for courses. I did a course in our last cohort on Christian nationalism, which went quite well. And then when we started pitching new courses for this cohort, I've had an idea kicking around in my head that a lot of the great many things going wrong in the world today can be somewhat attributed to what I think of. It's not the right term, but I've been thinking of it as the disorders of the imagination. Because the futures that people tend to imagine are just the present, only kind of shinier, which doesn't really seem to address any of the problems we're having. So one of the things I thought about was, okay, if we let the tech people imagine our histories, we get long-termism, where we can let people in the present suffer so that millions of trillions of computer people can be successful in 1,000 years, which is nonsense. So I'm also a huge sci-fi fan, so I thought, let's talk to some people who write science fiction and ask them how they come up with the future, how they see it, and how they see it being built in the present. Is that me? Did I say anything else? Also, I've been in New Zealand from 2004. Like Mandy, it's obvious I'm not from here simply because of the way I talk, but I've been here for 20 years, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. I reached out to a bunch of people. I was not sure we're going to say yes, and everyone said yes. So I get to terrifyingly interview some very exciting people. So I will largely be doing the interviews. Mandy will be doing most of the class sessions because it just happens to fall during the work week. Is that helpful?
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
Eric. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, in a lot of ways, this class and many of our classes that are guest lecturer heavy are a testament to the power of writing polite emails. We don't have particularly fancy connections in this area. We just came up with the sort of coolest, best list of people that we could think of to do a vision class, and wrote some polite emails, and they said yes. So honestly, it's very exciting for us. The idea with this class is that every week you're going to get a recording, aside from a couple of weeks when we'll be working on projects, but you're going to get a recording of an interview with Eric and our guest for that week. And then the guest will be joining us in class to talk about their work, to talk about the process of creating their work, how they imagine the future. And then we will also talk together with each other about both the work itself and also how we see the process of imagining the future working. One of the people that's been very influential in my work is Danella Meadows, and I'll send you a link in the email where you presumably also get this link to her piece on visioning. Visioning is incredibly powerful, incredibly important, and incredibly under-respected. Doing the work of imagination is absolutely what is going to get us out of the current troubles, with the rise of fascism and climate change and just everything that's wrong. Unless we can come up with a genuine way for us to imagine a better future, we're simply not going to get a better future. Um, so, so that's what this class is all about. Just some sort of quick practicalities for us to talk about. You should have received calendar invites for us. On that calendar invite will be a Zoom link that you'll be able to click on to join the class each week. We don't normally record our Zoom sessions. However, if you're not able to attend for a week, we're of course happy to record, assuming that everyone in the room can give permission. If you're not comfortable using Zoom, or if you're not comfortable using any of the other technologies we use, my colleague Byron, so Byron and I created Dark Times Academy together. He does all of the tech work so that I don't have to worry about things like websites and Moodle and so forth. Byron will do a tech support session with you. He's a professional IT guy and pretty good at it. Um, we will also offer a Signal group for us to talk to each other between classes. If you need help using Signal, if you've not used it before, I'm happy to help onboard you, and Byron will be too. And then we'll also have Moodle where we'll be posting the lectures, as well as the bibliographies for each week. Because we're meeting with a bunch of fiction authors, the bibliographies are pretty much all going to be lists of novels and short stories and maybe some poems, and wonderful things for you to read. So the other thing I just wanted to talk about briefly, and we'll talk about this more when we meet together later in the week, are project ideas. So we don't always do a project as part of our classes. It's very much up to the students who show up, the students who attend, and how much capacity and interest everyone has. In the past, I've been part of some phenomenal projects put together by classes that I was teaching. If you've ever heard of the Euphorigen investigation, that was developed by the University of Washington Center for an Informed Public. And the first A Bit Sus cohort was able to coordinate with the University of Washington and adapt it into a print version that could be used in New Zealand schools using a New Zealand artist. It was amazing. Obviously, we don't have that kind of budget these days, but there are other projects that we can do so that we have some kind of, takeaway from this class. It could be a piece of fiction writing. If fiction writing is a thing that you're into, we could make some zines. We could do some visual art. For those of you who don't know, I am a potter and a painter as well. So always happy to have art be what comes out of these classes. Just something so that we have both something useful and wonderful to put out into the world, but also something for ourselves to kind of consolidate our learning and to, give the experience some physicality, which can be a challenge with these sorts of online classes. Um, I don't think I have anything else to add to that. Eric, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I mean, course project could be cool, so you should think about that. either something to do individually or something to put together as a group. Maybe anthology of stories if people are keen on writing, and I'm assuming some of you will be. Other than that, if you have any friends or people you like or don't like and know who might be interested in the course, please encourage them to sign up. It's a real opportunity here to meet some very cool people and to have some hopefully very hopeful discussions, which I know I need
I
right
think
now.
we all need some hopeful discussions right
Yeah.
now.
And I think we'll get into some dark territory here with some of the stories we'll be talking about, some of the writers, but I think ultimately we're looking for positive visions of the future, which is something we don't see enough of. And positive visions of the future that are something different than what we have now or have had in the past. Though, of course, we can't reject that stuff entirely because you can't build a future without a wall or the stories that came before it. So I've got nothing else. Looking forward to seeing everybody soon and meeting you online starting in next week.
This week.
This week.
This
Oh,
week.
wow. Oh, okay. Excellent. So
Awesome. Thank you all so
good.
much for listening. And I really look forward to meeting everyone in class. And we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Get it.